Hey everybody, you're very welcome to the Joy of Aquascape, and my name is Greg, and this is lesson 2 in the Setting Up Your First Aquarium series. And today we're going to be talking about two things. We're going to be talking about tank maintenance and the size of your tank. Two really important things that you should look at before you even think about what fish you're going to get. Now, at this point, you should already know if your water is hard or soft, and if you don't know that, check out my previous video in this series. That's lesson 1, that is about hardness, and also your pH. How alkaline or how acidic your water is as well. And I'll put that in a link below. But today we're going to talk about the maintenance and size of your aquarium. The first thing we're going to look at is the size. This is really important because you might think a small aquarium is going to be much easier to look after and maintain. It's going to be handy. It'll fit in a small space. Yeah, it's handy in that it'll fit into a smaller space. And also it's probably going to be cheaper. But the thing about small aquariums is, well, a small aquarium is actually more difficult to keep really clean. So this is related to the size. So with a small aquarium, any lights you put on it are going to hit the bottom more quickly. It's going to be more intense at the bottom, more intense on the sides. It's more likely going to be prone to things like algae. If you put it into an area where it is near a window, say for example, it could get cold really quickly at night and warm quite quickly if the sun shines on it during the day. So what you don't have is a really good balance. And that's key. That's really important here, because what we're looking at in all aspects of our aquarium is to achieve a balanced state. Now, you go for a really small tank, you're going to have a lot of issues with fluctuating temperatures. And also, in a small tank, it only takes a small amount of food waste to start decomposing, to become ammonia, and we'll get into all that in future videos, but it only takes a very small amount of time for things to go bad in a small aquarium. So if you have a bigger aquarium, you have a little bit longer before that same amount of food becomes a really toxic mess, or that same amount of waste starts to really affect the water quality. So larger bodies of water are much easier to keep clean. And think about lakes and rivers and the oceans. If we weren't so busy polluting them, they would be balanced. We wouldn't need to worry about them because they're so big, they just tend to look after themselves. It's like that the bigger things get. So if you choose a small aquarium, you're gonna have more work to do to try and keep things balanced. There's a couple of ways that we can get around that, but let's then talk about the maintenance. So on the maintenance of your aquarium, it's really important to note that there's no such thing as just a no change aquarium, no water change aquarium. All that stuff is absolute rubbish. Forget about it. If you have somebody in a local fish store telling you that, oh, this aquarium is great, you never need to change the water, you just need to top it off, well, that's rubbish. Walk out. Don't give them your business, because they're lying. Aquariums need to be cleaned. It's just part of fish keeping. Me personally, I find it really therapeutic. Ask me to pick up the Hoover and I'm not so interested. Ask me to pick up the pond Hoover though, and I'll be over hoovering the pond. Ask me to pick up a gravel vac and clean out the sand on the aquariums. I'll do it, no problem. I find it really therapeutic because I actually enjoy knowing that what I'm doing is creating a beautifully balanced, clean environment for my fish. They're gonna grow great, and I know that I'm gonna benefit from it as well, because the fish are gonna look happier. They're going to have more vitality, more energy. They're going to have better colors. They're more likely to breed. I won't have to worry about all of the things that you'll have to worry about if you've got a dirty aquarium. If you aren't interested in cleaning your aquarium, don't get into fish keeping. It's like, don't get a dog if you're not interested in picking up its poop. You have to. Dog can't pick it up. Fish are the exact same. The big difference between fish and most other animals is, as the fish waste breaks down, it spreads to the whole tank. So if one of these fish poops here in the corner, the whole tank is going to be affected by it. The whole body of water is going to be affected by it in our tanks, and they can't get out of it. They can't get away from it, and that waste can break down and kill them. And look, we'll get more into making sure that we can deal with things like the fish waste and filtration and how that all works in a future video. And I've already done a video on ammonia, which fish waste breaks down to. I'll link that below as well. But look, it's really important to know that you're just gonna need to clean up after your fish. That is just it. There's no getting away with it. And you might as well embrace it. Enjoy it. You know, I could do 20% water changes on this tank and all my other tanks behind me. I don't. I do much bigger water changes. And my fish are in constant, fresh, clean, healthy water all of the time. And they do brilliant. They grow really well. And I've chosen fish that I can care for. But that's because I know what size tanks I can use and how much maintenance I'm willing to put in. Now, if you can devote a small amount of time, but not really a whole lot of time, what you need to look at is not the baby version of the fish that you're getting. You need to look at the adult version, because when these guys get bigger, that's 130 goldfish. I'm doing maintenance a couple of hours a day on these guys. I'm doing multiple water changes. They're getting about 15 feedings a day to make sure that they're all fed. Really small quantities at a time, but lots of high volume feeds. Like they're happening lots. It's producing a lot of waste. Now, if I was to try and keep all those fish in there, that tank would not be suitable. I already have a pond set up for these fish. So I know that I'm going to be able to look after them long term. So that's only a holding tank. Now, they're going into a bigger pond. That's a bigger body of water. And like I said, bigger bodies of water tend to need less maintenance because of the fact that that larger volume of water means that the waste won't be as significant compared to the total volume of water. So if you can imagine 1 poop and 1 liter of water, well, that's going to affect it only 1/10 the way it's going to affect 10 liters of water is going to affect it 1/100 of the way it will, 10 times more of that again. So if you have 100 liters of water, 1 poop isn't going to make so big a difference. If you have 1 liter of water, your fish is going to get sick really quickly after just doing 1 or 2 poops. So it's really important to note, the bigger the volume of water, the easier it is going to be for you to do your maintenance. And like I said, really important that you don't look at the baby version of the fish that you're going to get in your local fish store, because most fish are going to grow. Look at their adult size and the maintenance requirements for that. Really important things to note before you even go and choose your fish. If you're thinking about getting a goldfish, remember, goldfish don't stay small. They get like this big. I've got huge goldfish. They're absolute monsters. They're super messy. They're going to be a fish that produces an awful lot of waste for you. Not ideal if you're going to get a small tank. However, there are fish like betta fish, which are quite small. They produce a very small amount of waste. And comparatively speaking, they can be kept in a much smaller body of water without affecting the water quality through their waste, as long as you're keeping on top of your maintenance. Now, for me, I maintain my tanks every single day. It gives me an opportunity to look at my fish and see what's going on with them, observe their behavior, as well as just making sure it's clean. So I can not only see if my fish are, if my water is dirty and get it all clean and get rid of the waste, but I'm also seeing what behavior the fish are actually doing as well. And that's a really good indicator of things like when your fish, if you know your fish really well, you're going to know when your fish is not behaving as normal. So recently I had to take in one of my fish, my big giant fish, Batman. He's a big goldfish, big Aranda, absolutely beautiful fish. He was in the corner for almost 2 days, not really doing a whole lot. Now I brought him in, I treated him, something kind of caught up in his system that he wasn't digesting. And also on top of that, he also had a little cut on one of his fins. So I treated him for those. 3 or 4 days later, he was perfectly fine, back out in the pond, doing absolutely brilliantly. But I recognized that his behavior had changed, more so than I could actually see anything was wrong. The water was clean, everything was fine, but I knew that. Think about it as spending time with your fish. That's the way I do it. When I'm doing my maintenance on these guys, I'm looking at them all. I'm making sure that they're all okay. I'm watching their growth. I'm seeing their behavior. I'm seeing if there's color changes. And I'm doing that while I'm maintaining my fish. So for me, it's a pleasure. It's a joy. I really like it. So, I would recommend anybody who's getting into the hobby or anybody who's already in the hobby, look at your maintenance like it's just something that's really good to do for you, your fish. Look at it like it's a therapeutic thing. For me, when I'm cleaning my fish, I'm not concentrating on anything else. I'm not worried about the bills. I'm not worried about getting something. I'm just worried about cleaning the fish, and that's why I find it therapeutic. That's why I get into the hobby, because I just really enjoy it so much and I find it so relaxing. So the quest for like 0 water changes, I am not interested. It's like the holy grail that I couldn't care less about. I am happy to do water changes for my fish. I'm not willing to let it go a week. But look, you might be in a position where you can only do maintenance on your tank for 20 minutes or half an hour a week. If you can, that's okay. You just need to make sure that your aquarium and your fish are going to be set up with the right fish and the right inhabitants that, 20 minutes or half an hour a week is absolutely fine. I couldn't leave my goldfish that long. They'd probably end up dying because they produce so much waste. So for me, my maintenance every day. Your maintenance, you don't necessarily have to do it quite as often, but I would recommend, if you're using the water that comes out of your faucet, out of your tap, out of your well, and you're dechlorinating that and treating it for chlorine and ammonia, and your pH and you've got the right fish for that, just make sure that the aquarium or the tank that you have is not overstocked. So you can choose fish. So if I had one of these baby goldfish, I could do an awful lot less maintenance. And that tank would be okay for it in its adult size. Now, I always recommend goldfish, put them into the biggest tank you can. But look, that's just goldfish. Other fish as well, you might decide that you're going for African cichlids because the water that you have is quite hard and a high pH. Perfect, that's no problem. You know, they're messy fish as well. So you need to have quite a few of them so that they're not going to interfere with each other. They're going to have a high maintenance schedule on them. So you're not going to be able to keep African cichlids really healthy without doing quite a bit of work on them. In a relatively small tank, you're going to need to go big. So there's a lot of things that you need to consider. Mainly, how big a tank can you get? Always go for the biggest tank you can. And look, you have to think about the environment that's going to be kept in as well, because when you're choosing that tank, if you want a nice big tank, if it's going to be going into a really cold room, you may need heaters. So you're going to have to look at that as well when you're looking at your fish. We'll get more into the specifics of that in a later lesson. But look, go for the biggest tank you can. That is always my recommendation. Going small, sometimes they look really cool and you've got all these little desk tanks and stuff like that. They are so awful. And look, think about it as well from the fisher perspective. These are smart creatures. They're not stupid. They need a good environment, and we want to do the best we can by them. So get them the biggest environment you can so they have more swimming space. Imagine being locked in a little room all day. It'd be like being imprisoned. It wouldn't be great. Give them the biggest environment you can, because think about it. Somebody poops beside them, they can't get away from it. They are confined in that space. That's not really cool. Give them as much space as you can, and then once you decide what space you can give them, think about how often you're going to be able to maintain them. And look, if you can do maintenance once or twice a week, like I said, go look at the fish in their adult size and work off that. And I always find you'll have the best intentions. You'll be like, right, I'm going to get this tank, but the fish is going to grow, so I'll get a bigger tank. And it's going to grow, so I'll do more maintenance and get more filters. You're better off working with what you have rather than to the future. It's not a hobby that I really like to take on credit. So what I would suggest is get the fish and the aquarium that you can maintain now and look after that. And if you have more time in the future, you can get them a bigger tank and sell your own one on Craigslist or Dundee or whatever it is that you sell yours on. No problem. You'll get your tank sold. You can put that towards the new tank, or, getting bigger filter or something like that. Master the smaller tank with the smaller fish if that's what you can do now. And then look at getting a bigger tank in the future and maybe put that fish in, add some community if it's a community fish, maybe go for a bigger fish and keep that one, whatever works best for you at that point. But at this point in time, if you can only do small and low maintenance, go for that now. Trust me, because it'll be the week where you have a really busy week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and all of a sudden your tank is really dirty and it's not in good shape and you're not able to do anything with the fish. That things will go bad. You'll lose your fish and things will be bad. And it'll turn you off an awesome hobby, because fish keeping is absolutely brilliant. It's involved. You get to learn loads of stuff. There's really great resources for it. And, I think it's just an absolute pleasure to watch the fish grow, be healthy, act naturally. So I would always recommend before you even, and look, we haven't even looked at the fish yet, but now we're really on our way now at the moment, because at this point you should know if your water is hard or soft, what the pH is, and also have an idea of what your tank maintenance schedule is like and what size tank you have. If you know that information, you can walk into a local fish store and you can tell them, and they'll be able to tell you generally what fish you can get. But it also means you can look it up online as well, and you can look at that fish's max size. How often should it be cleaned? What pH should it be kept in? And what level of hardness should it be kept in? And all of a sudden, you're in a position where you can actually start choosing the fish for your aquarium. And that is an awesome place to be. So it's normally people will be like, oh my God, I want that one. It's amazing. And they'll look at the fish and be like, right, I want to get a setup for that. I always recommend when you're starting off with your aquariums, do it the other way around. Work with what you have, work with the water you have, work with the time you have, and work with the space you have, and choose the fish that you think will work best with that scenario, that you like the look of, that brings you pleasure and joy, and you're going to be off to a great start. So look, I'm going to wrap things up there. There'll be a blog post on this as well with a little bit more information, so feel free to check that out on the website, The Joy of Aquascaping. If you like. If you don't like, let me know. Let me know what I could be doing different. And if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. Subscribe, all that jazz if you're interested, and check me out on Instagram as well. Loads of stuff happening there every day. But in the meantime, I will talk to you later. Take care, everybody. Bye.